I'm gonna have to stick with my paper because I can't get that in.
Where's she going?
There she go.
No, you're fine to go, Madam President.
Okay. Call to order the Township of Hamilton Budget Workshop Meeting, April 21st, 2022, 6 p.m. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Mr. Caravelle?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Whalen and, I'm sorry, Mr. Whalen and Farrow are absent.
Okay. Please rise for a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our invocation.
Dear God, guide us in all we do. Watch over our first responders and law enforcement officials. Protect them and keep them safe. Intercede for those suffering with loss and depression, and pray especially for those faced with the ongoing atrocities in the Ukraine. We make all these intentions and those in the silence of our heart. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, on the agenda this evening, we'll be beginning with the budget for the Department of Water Pollution Control. Would you like to come to the table?
She's got a really big binder.
Uh-oh.
She's got a really big binder.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Sure. Well, welcome. For joining us today.
Let's see if this is working. Is this working?
Yes.
Very good. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Carrie.
Good evening, Council President Phillips, council members, and Hamilton Township at large. Allow me first to thank Mayor Martin, the administration, and yourself for being both steady during these turbulent times and for caring not only for the township, but for all its employees. Hamilton Township should be proud to own its entire wastewater utility. That is approximately 350 miles of collection system and a 16 million gallon per day treatment plant. Its charge is to meet its permit requirements. In doing so, we are protecting the public and the environment by providing high-quality wastewater utility service. Expenses. Unfortunately, expenses go up every year on almost everything. We are not shielded from inflation, which has reached an almost national 40-year high from what I understand. The budget, in short, is higher than we expected, with a 10.5% increase overall, not capital. The higher than anticipated increase was due primarily to increased gas, electric, chemical costs, in addition to S4 operator licensing requirements by the state. Salaries. An aging workforce is one of the two biggest challenges facing this utility. This is not unlike the rest of New Jersey or the United States. Our goal this year is to continue to fill vacant positions with motivated, skilled workers. For headcount, we are asking to add 1 permanent full-time position and 2 summer laborers. The second big challenge is the aging infrastructure. This is what capital is predominantly for. This would include, for example, repair of deteriorated concrete at the Clockner Pump Station, and I saw that, and plant grit channels, and replacement of the belt filter presses. Our next challenges together will be the ammonia reduction, which is to increase oxygen levels in the Delaware. That's in the future, hopefully, not too close. And emerging contaminants, that would be PFAS, which are driving more regulations. A few highlights from 2021. 12 new titles for career building at WPC, not to be filled, but to have. The COVID impacts were real. They caused overtime with employee outages. COVID slowed progress due to supply chain issues. And a brand new chlorine supply bid, only 6 months old, informed us they could not hold the price. We had to rebid our chlorine contract. That alone cost us 24% of an increase just in chlorine. That's within 6 months. That was in 2021. And of course, we just recently completed the rate study, which helped provide insight to long-term financial planning for us. What's on the horizon? More construction to bolster aging infrastructure, investment in employee training, starting the master plan, and more hard work and getting dirty. In summary, we're requesting for 2022 an operating budget of $20.5 million that includes salary and wages and statutory costs. Capital project costs estimated at $10.5 million. And in closing, I'd like to thank you for all the time you give to the township. I'd like to deeply thank the current 53 individuals who work at WPC, this year especially, for nearly every person in the department being ready 24/7 to respond to emergencies and critical issues. Hamilton is fortunate to have such proud, dedicated employees. So a lot of people think the on-call employees, they're paid, they're compensated with overtime, they're ready, but almost every employee is ready. And they do chip in when they need to. When the dice are down, they're there, all of them. Thank you. What questions can I answer?
Thank you, Karen. I've always looked at, I have a couple, I
keep going.
right to
No,
Councilman Carabello.
I'm fine, I can keep going.
Well, actually, I'll just start with the
Okay.
just in this, so I'm looking at, I know because you're looking on the iPad, some of us have paper and some are using iPads, so. Just the first page for salary and wages, I noticed an increase of over $800,000. 011 or something.
What are you basing that on, Nance?
Um,
Because I see,
I mean, from last.
What's budgeted is actually-
3,737,525
yeah,
was the actual, right?
yeah.
And then what we would be budgeting this year for the 4,537,000. I did the math and it was an $800,000 difference, so just.
Well, the only thing about that is if we compare budgeted amount to budgeted amount, we're actually down a little bit.
That's what I do.
Budgeting.
Yeah, I just wonder,
Yeah.
we had less people working because of COVID, so we didn't actually pay out as much as that, I don't know.
We have a few slots to fill for sure.
Yeah.
But we had more overtime than usual
Mhm.
last year. But the actual base salaries were down, budgeted from last year to this year, less than 1%. They were down, but they were still down. And so most of the increase goes to overtime. That's what was projected for the next year. I do not expect to see all of that though, because we want to fill the positions that are vacant.
And that includes the additional employee that you were requesting.
Yes, it does.
As well.
Yes.
Do you expect to get closer to the budgeted salary and wages amount this year?
We do.
Because last year you were way below it.
Yes. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
great on the one hand, but
Probably mostly due to the vacancies that you had. There were a lot of vacancies on and off all year long.
Yes.
And you did a terrific job with constantly trying to recruit individuals to come and fill those positions. And when she could fill, sometimes it was at a little less experience, so we started them at a lower title, only to, in the hopes that within 6 months' time, and maybe less, that they would be skilled and trained enough to be able to fill the actual vacancy or at a different, higher level. So we had lots of, we may have had some offset too, and John could probably speak to this, for any COVID related to cost, the salary wage, there may have been some offset there, which again would show less charged here and charged off to our COVID ones.
Thank you.
So it's easy to hire people, but to find the right people for the long term with a positive attitude and who want to work, but we're beginning to find them. We just interviewed about a dozen people, and some people are actually very excited to join us. Skilled people.
I'm glad to hear you're taking care in your hiring, the township, will benefit from having career-oriented employees, especially in that department. It's a very specific area of expertise, which actually goes to a certain area of expertise that I understand we're going to have to be contracting out for this year. The S4 license.
We did that already, yeah, by resolution in January.
And so we're budgeting for it now. We're budgeting a little bit
One of the
more.
big numbers. Yeah.
Now, long-term, what's your hope in, that's a core competency that obviously you want to have in-house, right?
The S4 licensing?
Yeah.
Okay, so we absolutely want to have that. We had anticipated probably by now that we would have, the person we had hired would have passed his S4 test. He came in capable of testing at the state level, they approved him, and he has not been able to pass. So he tests again in approximately a month, so we're hoping at that point he'll pass. He's very close.
Hard to try to pass it.
Okay.
So an understanding with the consultants is that once he passes, you're done.
All right, so we may not see a full expenditure. We got a budget for it, but
You will not.
yeah, part of this was, I understand, like COVID kind of delayed a little bit your process here in getting this, or just made it harder in this regard. So, well, I commend you. I mean, under difficult circumstances, I know you're keeping the ship headed in the right direction over there.
So it's tricky though, because
That's a ship analogy. I was in trouble.
I was ignoring it.
I do the same thing with ships, actually, sailboats.
But Carrie's done more over there. Her and her team have done more than just kind of, keep afloat, so to speak. So, they've really done a tremendous job of because they do have new staff. They have a lot of longstanding staff as well, but then they have a lot of newbies that come in too. So they do a tremendous job of education and training and offering all of that, encouraging it. And you have a lot of folks that take you up on that. And so that's making for much better employees and ones that want to stay. Sometimes you train them and educate them, and they take their licenses or whatever certifications that they get, and they move on. They get wooed by another utility. But that's just sort of a happening that goes on all the time. And we try to move people away from others as well. So, but that's the game, so to speak. But I think if you provide a culture like Mary's doing there, it's going to help retain individuals longer and longer, so.
I would imagine retirement is a challenge across the board in the township right now. Probably every single department has issues with folks retiring, and I'm sure that that's been the case for you as well.
It definitely has. And I know your plant was up and running in the 1940s, that many of the ones in the United States and in New Jersey were built in the 70s and 80s. So your infrastructure is older, that's fine, but the employees have that turnover too. So now this is about the 40-year reach, where a lot of them across the state, well, the whole United States, they are retiring. So that's why now we can't find licensed operators. We can't find them anywhere. So I said to Kathy, we're going to grow them. So literally, motivated, skilled people that want to learn and grow, that have the capability. So. And I think our new soon-to-be S4 operator, he has a very good positive attitude and a nurturing way about him. So I think he'll be very good.
That's great.
And Kathy well said everything we said, but luckily, somehow, we have an influx of the workers from other utilities they didn't seem to, any of them seem to be leaving, so that's a good thing. But I will say one person's retiring. Soon, I think there may be a resolution. His name is John Chopin. I believe he's noted as being here the longest ever as a township employee.
I think 44 years, right?
45 years.
45.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's ours.
That's great.
Karen, we just want to say thank you for coming this evening. I know you do a phenomenal job, and probably people are coming in and looking to work at our utility because of your leadership. So I appreciate you being here this evening. You alluded to in your presentation is that you're looking to hire 2 new employees. Did you say, or one? I tried to jot it down quickly, but
One full-time.
one full-time.
One full-time and 2 summer help.
Okay. And the summer help typically. Is that just over the summer, and then we,
Typically.
okay, so there's not a need to retain them into the fall, I mean,
Sometimes we do. Last year we did.
okay,
This person was interested in full-time permanent employment.
okay,
Went back and forth. We can use them in the grounds, crew, through into the fall, and we did. So, but then we let them go.
okay,
Yeah, you generally keep temps, 6 months, no longer than 6 months. So, and it stretches over, like civil service only wants you to keep a seasonal or temporary employee for 6 months. So that's the longest I can stay.
I'll bring this up, and I should have brought this up, but, and I did communicate with Fred in the past and with the mayor, but, just wear my county hat for a second, we do have a summer youth program, 18 to 24, 4 days a week. We have a grant that will allow us to pay for the salaries of those individuals. So it's something that Fred, I believe, brought someone on last year for his department, but it's something that could be across the board if you have, not highly skilled, but if it's, an unskilled type of position or something like that for the summer months, and you're looking to fill something like that or have additional help, we have the individuals that could probably fill some of those positions. So just something to, and maybe we can communicate offline about that. But I did mention that last year, and we just got announced in the last week or two that the grant was renewed for this year, so this summer. So it's good news, and it could be a public or private type of job. It doesn't have to be strictly private sector position. So just something to consider.
We'd be glad to.
I'll communicate with you offline about it. Yeah.
I usually coordinate with personnel, and they say.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that with Lou. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely, we need people.
Okay.
Carrie, just out of curiosity, what changes in the summer that you add the 2 people?
No grass growing.
Chris, I was going to say that.
Just a lot of extra things like that. We can do painting in the summer also. There's just a lot of miscellaneous things.
Get some of those AP environmental. So Carrie, yeah, I mean, you do a phenomenal job, and so some of my questions are, a lot of them are just out of curiosity, just so you know. As I went through, I'm looking at the, what's the title of this, other expenses on page 2. The Q software costs dropped dramatically. Just want to make sure you have what you need, really.
Yeah, some of those Qs is our program and our TV, that goes with our TV truck. So, and that TV truck is aging, and so therefore some of the repair, replacement, that type of thing. So if we did it this year, then Tina or the collection system will say, we're not doing it this year, we're going to drop that. So it's some of the prices you'll see, 6,000 and 12, and then it'll go back down to 6, because it's every other year.
That's
Yeah, it's
Is it
4001.
Is it under utility management or salary and wages?
I believe it's
Utility, okay, we're in utility management now. No, that's
yeah,
fine.
and then I noticed, and then in the opposite way, the bus network cloud backup carbonite, that tripled, not almost tripled. Yeah, but that actually matches what we budgeted before. I guess just that, again, maybe I couldn't, we just spent less last year because of COVID.
That's a 024-003, yes. So we kept it the same, but it's 9,000 straight across the board. So I don't know why it shows 0 expenses in the past, unless this was a category, John, that was 0 before, and it's a newer one.
Okay, nice. I rearranged some of the categories 2 years ago.
Carrie?
Sorry,
Good.
I'm just looking at clothing and uniform,
Mhm.
and it looks like, well, it's not a huge amount of money, but it is doubling the supervisor uniforms per WC contract. What's WC?
White collar.
Oh, white collar. So it's the supervisors, and it says here, we're supposed to get them 2 sets of uniforms every 2 years. Looks like the last 2 years, we haven't spent any money on that.
Hence the current jump, hence. Right? I think I don't know if it's every 2 years or every 3 years, because their white collar contract is at 3 years, but it's also not been renewed. It hasn't been renewed, so they haven't actually pushed to get their new uniforms or new clothing.
They're
So-
working out a contract.
Yes, yeah, so they have their khakis and shirts, they haven't gotten anything, so we anticipate a little bit more cost than usual.
Okay.
So all of them, instead of every other getting some, this is gonna be all of them have to get new ones.
Okay.
At all.
Well, listen, we certainly, that's certainly a valid expense.
Carrie? Under utility, are you done? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Under utility management, I noticed under
What page are you under?
Oh.
Number?
Or what's the number?
page 5 and 6, under the iPad though, but, it's page number 6.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's page number 6, under legal services related to permits.
It doesn't match.
Is it 028 what?
0027001.
Right, for us, it's page 4.
Okay, yes.
I know we budgeted the last 2 years 20,000,
Mm-hmm.
but we only spent over those last 2 years 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to budget 20,000 in that category?
Good question. We have, I believe it was in 2020, we submitted our permit renewal, which is a state renewal for our gypsies permit, and it's every 5 years. So we are required to submit it 3 months in advance of the expiration date, which we did properly, and we had a minor review cost. I believe that was in 2020. Yep, 2020, you can see that small cost there. So in 21, 22, 23, we don't know when they're going to come at us as far as a review. So, and therefore, we do have legal consultants on board with the contract. That, we have several that are by resolution already done and ready to go. So we'll use it or not use it. So I don't know the answer.
And so we have
the attorneys already, I know, I turn off the mic every time. I should just leave the mic on. We have the attorneys under contract now, and they'll be available to you. When we did that, it was whoever bid for that, I would imagine. That's typically, I think, how we do that, so.
We have township attorneys, that's a different resolution. These we call environmental attorneys, and it's specifically for these related types of wastewater permit and legal issues specifically. And so
This would be be coming from the state,
the permits are coming from the state, yes.
so that's where you need the legal assistance to guide you through that process?
Not completely. It depends what the state does to us. So if they start moving around our permit limits, right, and now we have to do some fancy things or add treatment costs for other processes, it depends what they do. They could do very little, they could do a lot. So we don't know, but it will come from the state regulatory. So it was, I don't know if it was 15 years ago, they started really playing with it, 15, whatever it was, and we had a legal company come in, and it was a company that one of the lead lawyers was also an engineer. and he knew wastewater. He came in and sat in front of the DEP and blew him away, and they didn't touch us. Not that we're not going to be so lucky again, but it was a good thing.
Do you think you need 20 in that category, in that line item?
We could cut it. We could cut it. I don't know. It could be a couple thousand. It could be a lot. Again, we don't know what they're going to do. Now, the biggest thing we could face will be probably PFAS monitoring in the future. I don't know what year that will be. And I don't think that's coming to permits yet in the next year or so. I don't think it will be. I don't think the DRBC by next year or this year is going to force the DEP to lower our ammonia limits yet. And I don't know if all the utilities, Philadelphia Water included, and wastewater is going to say, we're going to fight all this in court. I don't know.
I won't put you in a bad spot, but I'm just, if there's,
we can absolutely lower it. I think even 10, or if you said 5 would be for nominal, normal, some reasonably small costs.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Okay.
And then if something happened and it got really crazy, we can go to an emergency situation.
Okay.
So.
Carrie, on that same page on administrative services, 028001.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking back, again, I know we're talking about fluctuations, but there was quite a fluctuation. But even the last 2 years was budgeted 500,000, and then we're moving to 900,000.
Mm-hmm. That number was given to us.
Yeah.
This is really for administrative costs that happen everywhere else in the township to support the utility, and because they're accounted for separately, we take an administrative fee for that. And so we did some analysis in the last couple of years to take a look at and see, and with the growth, with all of the things that are happening, with all of the good things that they're doing over there too, there's more support in purchasing, there's more support in finance and payroll, there's more support in personnel. So we ended up cutting it, right, account of that. Yes, and we have to make sure, like when we look at it, that we're not putting them in any financial constraints when we're taking an administrative fee, but it's usually based loosely on the percentage of appropriations and revenues that they have, but you can also do it other ways, where we did more of an analysis of how much staff are we really dedicating towards helping them, administratively, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I have to say, everyone over here in administration has always been there for us all the time and right away and been completely supportive. Absolutely. Legal, everybody. Kathy, Lou, everybody.
Right. Kathy's pretty good. There was another one that I can't find right now. It was New Jersey One Call Compliance. I saw that. I wrote it down for utility management, and I can't find. Where is it at? What?
Page 5.
Maybe back to page 5 on the iPad.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Where is it?
Is it
It's 028011.
Okay.
02801.
011.
No, not that one. No.
Regulation compliance.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's 028011.
011. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Right?
That, okay, yes. What is that? Carrie?
$120,000. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I had written down some notes on this too.
J1 call.
Because only one time did we go over that budget.
One call, if you're doing an excavation and you have to
Oh.
talk about the underground.
That's what it is.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah, I think.
I'm just curious what that was. So you don't know what that number, I mean, you're just,
Well, you can see here from past history, right? We have
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4 years of data here.
yeah.
How it waxed and waned, and therefore we kept that number. It's hard to say, where will it be exactly? It's only budgeting tool. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the contract that's bid annually, and we have with Cornell's group, Cornell and Roberts. So we did bill us, and they automatically go out. The call comes in, and they automatically go out and take care of
So
the
we're
survey.
under contract with us?
Yes, they're already with resolution.
Okay.
On that, same page, we completed the rate study, had our joint meeting with Robbinsville on that. Some of that cost is carrying over into this budget. Do we have any, in your expertise at this time, are you still studying the results of all that? Or do you have any conclusions that you've been able to draw based on that rate study?
The first part of your note was, there's about $3,000, I believe, in here, in the current budget, in the regular line item, to finish the payment of those bills. And they have all come in, and they've all been put out to, requisition, whatever the process is for payment, so that's all taken care of. The final reports are all printed, the public notice and all that occurred, so that's all good. I think in general, everyone has settled down from it. It's also been very transparent to the public and between Robbinsville and Hamilton. I think that's an excellent thing. I think it was needed for a long time just to do that. It made sure that everything's out, everybody can see everything. Long term, it shows that we have a lot of costs coming up. We have aging infrastructure. It shows you that we're going to have to spend a lot of money for aging infrastructure. Is this normal? Absolutely it is. And we can't hide under a rock, we can't pretend, and we can't not plan. Hence the mayor being very proactive, I believe in 2020, when he first increased the sewer rate, right? Very good thinking, needed for a long time, right? To make sure we don't have all of a sudden, we need really, whatever, so much money that you have to skyrocket the rates, which you don't want to do. And one of the last pages showed a comparison of other local towns in this region, and showing that even with another increase, if and when we need it, eventually need it, that we're still amongst the lowest. We're still. What you pay now is less than what I'm paying. But anyway, so I think it was all good.
So it's a good exercise, it was money well spent.
It was.
To help us to ensure that we just continue to provide the service that we need for the community for hopefully the foreseeable future. Okay.
We haven't, the second part of your question was regarding Robbinsville though, and so we have a, let's say, informal agreement with them right now, partly based on what came out in the study that talked about, but the problem with the study, not a problem, it was a good thing, it laid out options, if you will, and different methods to calculate what Robbinsville's share should be of our system.
Right.
It's not, none of the options are perfect, because we don't have some of the data. Some of the data we will have shortly after or during when you're doing your master plan. So, and we know that's maybe a year or so out at least before you get that back. So in the interim, I think we're going to do a temporary agreement with them to sort of ratchet up their payment. We did increase it. They increased the payment in 2020, and then in 2021, and then 2022 it's even higher. 2023 it'll be a little higher, and then we're hoping by 2024 we'll have the information that we need to decide the methodology to determine how much they owe. That's really more of a calculation, and we have more confidence in. And then we'll draw up an agreement that will hopefully last for a very long time. That was the goal of having the consultant do the rate study and give us those recommendations on how to do that. So really, over the next couple of years, the attorneys are gonna be talking back and forth about putting together really a rock-solid agreement between us. And it's been a good process overall and very enlightening for both of us, for Robbinsville and the town. So we're just going from there. But we do have temporary amounts in place, so Robbinsville's still paying us and paying their fair share at this point that, until we can get a firm agreement in place.
And that is, that amount will be kind of consistently going up, the amount that they pay us. And traditionally, it's been a fixed dollar amount that's agreed on, because the Robbinsville, they're not ratepayers like Hamilton ratepayers. The township, they pay that through their property taxes, through their tax bills. So, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I remember the different formulas. I think you had 3 different formulas you presented.
Yes. Yep.
Just out of curiosity, are we basically right now doing like percentage of usage? Is that what we're?
The methodology
It's
were
different,
different,
and we don't have to go into
and they
detail.
got convoluted, and
I don't know how that gentleman did what he did, because I was sort of glazing over on the feet.
It's too much.
That was really, yeah, advanced for
that's
me.
his expertise though, and, but Kerry was right on top of it, and really, we questioned, in fact, one of the methodologies in particular that we didn't feel was, even on the same par as the others, it just wasn't really accurate enough. So it'll be interesting going forward to see, once we get our master plan done and we get the asset management, information data that we need, then we'll be able to plug it into one of those methodologies and really be able to come up with a good solid number. But in terms of what they're paying now, it is going up each year on an agreement by Robbinsville to pay that. And it's gone up from before I got here too. So that was when the sort of disagreement started, and they weren't paying and didn't want to pay the larger amount that was asked for. So we settled on a smaller amount, but still higher than what they had been paying. And they paid that for 2 years consistently, and then going forward, it'll be ratcheted up. So that they're trying to kind of ease it in too. They know that that payment has to be up a little bit higher than what they have been paying in years past, based on the rate study. And so, but we're kind of giving them an opportunity to be able to ratchet that up for their residents too, so they don't hit them all with one big increase in 1 year. So.
Do we want to jump to the next section, maintenance of sewer lines?
Sure. Yeah. I don't have anything.
I just have one small question on, I should mark this down, the jetback rental. I didn't put an exclamation point, it's that expensive.
Is this for the sludge? Or the,
I'm not sure which item is, maybe it's 026001.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
026,
Oh, 01,
Mhm.
32,000.
That should be for 2 months. To rent one jet truck, just the truck, no fuel, no labor, is $15,000 to $20,000. Yep. So
that's when we need to move, unfinished, product off-site.
this is when you have a clog in your pipes out in the town.
All right, out in the town.
Out in the town.
Okay.
So if we're down to one truck, we know we have to get a rental because we have to have 2 trucks available. But we have right now one being manufactured. It was approved last year in capital.
Okay.
So.
Happy to approve it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pull any money from that.
So.
Well, there it is. There's, we see the need.
If you sold a truck, you'd know why it's so expensive.
Okay.
Massive, and
Okay.
do massive jobs.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay. That was my only question in that section. Do you, I don't know.
move to maintenance of pump stations.
What page is that?
It's the next section.
Yeah, what page?
Well,
I'm lost right now. I'm on this. Well, you look at the paper, what page is it on the?
Page 1 of that section.
Oh, removing, all right, now I'm.
Oh, okay.
He was,
Now I'm
kind of
ready.
easy on my highlighter.
Oh, 3. I'm with you.
All right. I don't want to,
Mike,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I said, I don't want to, belabor the whole Robin, I just wanted to understand the numbers at the bottom of the page, 026004, just to kind of, just,
I was going to explain that.
yeah.
So it says $10.
Right.
$10 is a placeholder, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And all it is a place for, what happens is, in reality, we have a, part of our agreement, a amendment later with Robbinsville, the current agreement says that we will operate and maintain their collection system. We want to get out of that for a lot of reasons. But anyway, and when we do that, it costs us money. It costs us labor, and it costs us materials. Sometimes we have to buy small materials, like a small pump or small something to put there. Well, Hamilton's not going to pay for that. So we will buy that. If it's substantial, we get their okay first, and then we'll send them a quote, etc. And then I got to buy it somewhere, because I don't have a whole separate Robbinsville thing. So we put this here a couple of years ago as a placeholder. So it hasn't worked out very well relative to saying, when they pay that bill, that equipment cost has to go back to this line item, right?
It's supposed to be an in and out.
Right, so it's supposed to go back to zero.
Reverse it.
Right. So, but that's it,
Accounting doesn't work right, but
and it's not easy. But, I mean,
about finance later.
what is that minus 11,000 now? I like that, but, why is that the case? But I can tell you, usually, the last 2 bills of the year, November and December, the end of the year is very hard with holidays and stuff. So those don't get produced till January, and then by then they're closing the books, and they don't put that money that comes in from that bill to the previous year. So it's like, that happens with a bunch of things.
So we're paying them to maintain their pump stations for
No,
them?
they're paying us.
They're gonna pay us.
This is,
Reversing
They're
us.
reimbursing us, but it's not shown on this.
oh, that's what you were explaining, okay. So this year, we should see a minus number instead.
But no, in reality, it should be 0. And this is for materials. This is not nuts and bolts. This is buying something maybe $100 or maybe whatever. It could be something that's $15,000 with their approval, but it's for material, not labor.
We pay it first and then they reimburse us.
Correct. Now the trick is getting that reimbursement through our system into this line.
Yeah, line item.
Correct.
But just so I'm clear, they own their infrastructure.
Yes,
We don't own their infrastructure.
correct.
But we maintain.
Right. And we're the license holder for their collection system. They don't have any licensed operators at all.
So the state would probably not even let us out of that
They
even.
would, because they're gonna get their own operators.
Are they?
Oh, yeah.
It's in the
but
works?
I'm gonna remind Alyssa that we need to put this in MOU this spring and summer, so this fall when we budget,
Oh.
right? I'm afraid then in reality, we may lose a couple operators, but we'll see.
So we would lose this line item eventually.
Yes,
Eventually.
Hopefully.
If it comes out of that MOU.
yeah.
Have to maintain
Yeah,
your
it's
own.
wear and tear on our,
Yeah.
when you look at the cost of that truck.
Should we be good neighbors? Absolutely. Should we have a shared services contract for emergency services with them? Absolutely, we should help our neighbors. But this is different.
Ongoing.
This is different.
I guess my question is on that same page, the heavy electrical maintenance and supplies. There's a note there that talks about upgrading electrical systems and controls at various pump stations that have aged electrical systems. I'm just bringing it up because I noticed that we're looking at 90,000, and obviously we haven't hit that number in, never, over the last 5 years, and I just was curious what that entails. The upgrading the electrical, is that significant that you expect it to be right around
I would say in particular this year, because we're gonna have a heavy electrical contract go out for bid, so we're gonna get more of those services in. We used to have 3 electricians employed, a senior electrician and a helper,
Yeah.
and now we only have 1, so that hurts us.
So we outsource it.
So, right, but we don't have a full outsourced contract. It's like our heavy mechanical has some electrical capabilities, but not what we fully need. And there's a lot of SMAS stuff, so we can't say, oh, we have this one big project and we put it under capital. It's a lot of SMAS stuff, so this is gonna go under this operating type of budget.
Okay.
The, 1 electrician versus 3 electricians, is that a personnel decision? Is that just something that we've cut down on, or is that, do we still have those, are we still budgeting for 3, or are we only budgeting for 1?
Budgeting for 2.
We're budgeting for 2.
The problem
not
is,
1.
we've been looking hard for the last 2 years, even interviewing, and there's really cannot get them, find them, anything. Everywhere is looking for instrumentation and electricians, everywhere.
What union are those electricians in?
There is a electric,
They're not, are they IBEW, or are they?
there is a union for that.
I think they're in a different union, right? I mean, what contract do they fall under?
Contract here, so
Not here in Township.
no, I know.
Yeah.
They're under contract, are they blue collar or?
Oh, in our group?
Yeah, our employees, what union
The blue collar,
is
the blue collar.
so, is it possible that we could engage the IBEW and direct hire to make up some of the shortfall
We can.
in labor?
That's been talked about with the mayor and our staff already several times.
Right, good. Okay.
Good point.
I don't have anything else in that section.
Yeah, I'm good in that section, yes.
Maintenance of other,
A small, but I think it's probably connected to what you just explained, just the increase in the electrical and communication supplies. But I'm assuming that's connected to the upgrades and so forth. It's on it's on page 2, 037001.
It's possible that could relate to, relate to some of our SCADA upgrades and telecommunications, all that type of thing.
Cost of dioxide going up?
Always.
I have a question under maintenance of other equipment.
So we're moving maintenance of other equipment.
Uh-oh, why did you say that? Electrical maintenance,
What's the number?
that is,
Oh, the first page, yeah.
wait, now I lost my,
Oh, yeah. I missed that.
yeah, electrical maintenance. It just seems like,
It looks terrible. It looks like we haven't spent this this money. It looks terrible. But this is for the plant, or 3 is for the pump stations. So this has so much slated for it. It's like a whole bunch will be spent. Now, it's gonna be the middle of the year, maybe next month, that this will be approved, all the budgets will be approved. So we still have more than half of the year to be able to do the work. Plus the hiring another person, a helper, we're hoping to have an electrical helper, start. Plus with these other contracts, so we should be able to spend quite a bit of money.
but I noticed we didn't in previous years spend that much. Is that because?
Right.
So
So,
what's because this has been needed for some time, right?
of course, the catch is that, it's trying to keep everything exactly where it belongs is hard. So they might say repair and maintenance, right? So they're gonna go out to Home Depot and they're gonna buy certain things or some conduit, and then they're gonna put it under a different category. So instead of the electrician under the maintenance, he's in the maintenance crew also, saying, oh, I have my own category, I need to put it over there. So if the other categories are okay, you say, well, why is this okay, so high? So you could theoretically say, we'll cut this sum. And even if we ran it, you cut it by 20,000, we overran it by 20,000, I think we'd still have enough budget, we'd be fine. right? And then if we got up that high, we'd say, wonderful. Right?
And meanwhile, mechanical maintenance, you were way over in that.
See,
So
right,
that's where,
right.
and we did raise the budget, but it's still like way below what
So
you
is
actually
it,
spent.
is it more of an accounting issue, like no
That's
one?
what it sounds like.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
because, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that category, I noticed that we were severely over budgeted in that category.
and last year especially, I mean, the expenditures there did more than double, actually. When you look at mechanical maintenance, which is 26,001,
Mm-hmm.
in 20 we spent under 200, in 21 we spent over 400.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's
So
just,
that's, and they're in the same crew, and we only have one guy right now, so he probably just thinks, and we have a new person in leading our finance charge, in bills, for bills and.
Internally?
Internally, yeah, she's only been there about half a year, almost a year, and she's getting really well situated now, being through a whole year. So I can point this out for sure. So you want to say?
Well, you just dampened my excitement there, so. No, I don't want to take anything if I notice the other categories,
Right.
you know, from that category, because it doesn't, in that case, that's 400,000, and right there, you are a little bit over 400,000, so with the, yeah, you combine the two.
yeah.
Well, yeah, if you look at past, 2021's actual budget, you're over 400,000, and this year budgeting 400,000 plus two.
Right.
So, but
So what I can do is to that person, that finance person, and also to the electrical, the senior electrician, point that out to both of them,
okay, that's fine.
to try and get that to be more on that category.
Now, now you brought me that picture, and thank you for that, by the way. What do you call that end product?
Sludge cake.
That is sludge cake. So when we're talking about the hauling of sludge, that's what we're talking about carrying.
Yes.
It's the end product. It's not really sludge. It's actually is dry. And I'm sorry to get so graphic, but I get confused about, I know there have been times when there have been like emergencies, when you've had to shut down the equipment where you've had to actually like take out some unfinished on isolated occasions, but this is, I didn't need the picture, but thank you. It's incredible. I mean, we have a lot of people in this town. So, hand me the picture, you made me lose my train of thought. My point is, we spend a lot on the transport of the sludge, but I was getting layman's confusion about what sludge means. Really, that's the end product. It's not some midpoint product, and that goes to the landfill.
Correct. So there's 02801 and 02802, and one is hauling, that's the transport, and one's disposal.
Yeah.
What are we on? I'm sorry, I'm now lost.
So
we're in
on
this,
page 2 of 004.
we're in this maintenance of other equipment.
I'm sorry, go back and get
On that next page.
Okay, yep.
I'm just looking, because this is it's a key component of the process. I mean, it's got to go somewhere.
It absolutely has to. So both contracts, not both, the hauling is bid every X amount of years, 3 or 5 years, whatever it is. A 1 or 2 year contract, usually a 2 year contract, and then with 1 year extensions, all that. That recently, I think it was in 21, it expired, and so we bid it, and we got it a low bidder. They came in, I think it was in 20. And they actually come in, they lift the, what is it? I don't know, let's see. Is it 40 yard dumpster? I think they're 40 yards, 30 or 40. But they haul that, they lift it up onto the flatbed, and they drive it over to Pennsylvania to Groves landfill. That's where the disposal is. So we actually pay a tipping fee there, right? So That's what that is for. I believe that's, the disposal is that, and the hauling is the other one.
Okay.
And I
So,
think, Carrie, you noted that the sludge production is also just in general expected to increase.
correct,
So
right.
the amount.
Right. So when you look at the actual records of how much tonnage and yards we actually take out of the plant, it has steadily increased over the last couple of years because people are home. The other thing too is we noticed that we got into some process issues, when we were holding the solids in the plant. So it sounds weird, because it's not in one tank, you're just holding it there. It actually can be accumulating in the bottom of other tanks instead of moving them out into digesters and out to the presses and getting them out of the plant.
Is that intentional, or?
It's sort of like an overlook, and when they do that, they find that the plant performs not well. Not well. So now we make sure we get our solids out of the plant. We have to get out of the plant for the plant to perform at peak performance.
Good. Thanks.
Carrie, on page 3 of the 028011, the maintenance and cleaning of various tanks. Just looking back on it, for the 17, 18, and 19, it was 0. Then 2020, we spent 210. Last year, 58,000 plus. And then we're budgeting 300,000.
So we had to. This is an item. This is an item where, I always want to do the right thing. Does it belong in capital? Does it belong in the plant? So, and at one point it was in both, right? So in the end, Kathy and everybody really said this has to be in operating, so we put it in operating. The thing is that we need to clean out tanks regularly, not every year. And for example, we had to clean out one of the big digesters. I think it holds 800,000 gallons. We had to do it on an emergency basis, and we spent over $300,000 to do that. So we're going to be proactive and plan that and not do an emergency. So it's sort of this yin and yang, like, I need the money in there, but I don't know what year or when, and so we're trying to stage clean different tanks at different times, and we get our bids and prices and all that kind of thing. But it's not like I know exactly what tanks we're going to clean every single year. So we look at what we need. So that's one of those things that you can't predict exactly. And it's a big number, but I can't put it in capital. So.
And that goes to what you had been talking about just before.
Not having the
The efficiency of the entire system depends on keeping these tanks clean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Carrie, I'm jumping here to, I just, looking at the sewer utility budget revenues, not on this, but in our binder. No, this is sewer
just
utility
revenues.
revenue, sorry. I said, okay.
We like that side of the equation.
The other question I had, for the sewer connection fees, we see, we roughly took in about 700,000, and then we're seeing that number decrease by about 45,000 in the proposed 22. Why is that?
I think John can answer that.
What's on the first page?
He's on the six tab.
Yeah, 6 tab, page 1. I jumped, I'm sorry.
But I was looking at 3.
I think I found my binders, so I have 2 binders. If anybody needs a binder, I have an extra.
So, yeah, you can, this is where in the budget document, or for the budget that we submit, for any revenue, this is on the current fund side too, you can only anticipate up to the amount that you collected last year.
We,
So we came close, we didn't go up to the penny, which you could have, but we probably used that to just balance out what we needed, because remember, you have to do a balanced budget, your revenues have to equal your expenditures.
Right.
So we probably just used that one. We came close to it when we anticipated it to 653,500, when we collected 697,500.
What happens if we get too far out of kilter? Like if we start turning a profit, God forbid, on our water pollution control?
So, it's okay to do that, right? So, because we have a fund balance and a surplus also in our sewer utility. So, but you're supposed to look at that, and we do each year. We look at what are the revenues that came in actual, and we compare that to the actual expenditures as well. And we use that to help us determine, are the rates right that we're charging? So, you know, it is an exact science when you do it that way, but we don't always raise the rates or change the rates based on what that analysis shows each year. It's a little harder to change the rates, those are by ordinance, and so, you know, and besides, most of the time, and you also determine the rates based on the flow that we think we're going to, well, part of it's the flow, when we build our commercials based on a fixed rate and flow, and then everybody else is a fixed rate. So we look at our rates and say, you know, with the customers we have, are we going to bill and collect enough to cover these expenditures? And so, and that's where we come up with the rents and all of that, so.
Alright, this is a dumb question maybe, but wouldn't the number go up if we're continuing to grow as a town? Like, just with developments and
Which number?
the connection fee number? Like, wouldn't it be higher than 2021?
It can.
Or the connection fee depends
Like
on
proposed.
construction?
So look, we did, yes, right? So, or renovations as well, I guess, some of them could have that. But, we have budgeted, we're anticipating more than we budgeted last year. We just happen to collect more than we budgeted last year.
Oh, I didn't see that, yeah, the 540, I'm sorry,
We
yeah.
have adjusted what we're anticipating based on what we collected last year. If we collect more than 653,000 this year, then next year's budget.
That's great.
We could up it if we wanted
Okay.
to anticipate.
Okay, understood, sorry.
And it is, I mean, you've really driven the point home and communicated it very well for us to carry that. You know, we own an 80-year-old sewer system. And so every year there are going to be, it's hard to pinpoint what expenses are going to come up. You're anticipating them, but it's hard to say, all right, in 2022, we're going to spend X on the following items, because you can't always prioritize until you see what's kind of emergent or the most pressing need in the system. And, you know, to revenue, you know, obviously it makes it important that we charge a fair rate.
I understand now. I didn't see that. Okay.
Want to move back to the statutory budget?
Statutory budget, we're gonna jump back to the other,
Finish that out and then we'll come back to the agenda.
Statutory.
So we have one more.
yeah.
I didn't have any questions on that section, though, I didn't.
I just had a question on the self-insurance fund. Again, just these ups and downs, you know.
That you're talking about the statutory?
Yes,
Okay.
000100.
That's also given to her, so
Mhm.
for our
Mhm.
health insurance, I figured, and, medical, RX, and, so self-insurance is that self-insurance, or is that our general liability and workers' comp budget?
Okay, I'm not sure, our prescription for their employees, so we separated out, we get one bill from them for all of our employees, but we end up, allocating it out to.
So they're really increasing that cost and everything.
Nice job negotiating that drop in the cost of, other insurance.
Yeah, I put a little arrows. I said self-insurance went up, group insurance went up, but other insurance went down.
Well, it's based on, how we split it up, the overall cost.
Well, we all know it's going up these days.
We've seen the mayor drive a hard bargain with the insurance carriers. When he was on council, he drove a hard bargain, and it worked. We're paying a better rate. We're saving money every year as a result of, the consultant came in and tried to tell us we had to pay X. And, it turned out that wasn't actually the case. So you guys continue to drive a hard bargain with our providers, and we appreciate it.
No, I didn't have anything else on that section. Are we on capital now?
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Under vehicles and equipment, Carrie, there's a big ticket item that I just saw was the jet replacement. That's on, the capital budget and 5-year projection. The, sort of one of the last pages.
Okay.
It's
The jetback,
yeah. Is that an older?
that's under the 2021 column, I believe.
Oh, no, it's under the 23 column. I'm sorry. I apologize. You had that under 23.
Oh, I see.
Because you gave me,
Further
yes,
down.
it's not this year, so I
Down
can't yell at you yet. No, I'm joking. No, they're more on the smaller side, so. Vehicle side, I really didn't have any questions. The replacements have high mileage, and is that the reason that the one for the Chevy Colorado, Ford F-150? I guess there's 2 replacements that we're looking at for $60,000.
Yeah, those are Chevy Colorados and the Ford. Yeah, they're replacing existing, yeah. And the age and wear and tear, yes.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, the line item for underground infrastructure repair, the $800,000. That just,
Which is that, underground, that's in collection system?
I mean, I see that as a consistent number that we've approved.
I'm trying to think, I think they used to have this in operating, but they said it really is capital, I mean, long ago.
During infrastructure. So these are things that you probably find in the course of every day, where you'll find, corrosion or other breaks in the lines, and, have to be repaired.
So we never had in there before in capital.
Well, I'd have to look at how far back we have. We have had it in there. I just don't know when it went from,
Know when it went from operating to
It's capital.
I don't really know.
Okay.
yeah, I know it's been a little while.
So that's a consistent amount, and again, you're gonna guess, because
So we're not spending 800,000, because, I mean, now that it's in capital, we wouldn't be, but I mean, annually, it fluctuates whether we're
it
spending.
absolutely does. I mean, and it depends on what you find each year and what you can, you know, what you have to do. Most of them are emergent things that you have to repair, and get done. So you have this kind of pool of money there, not knowing really what's gonna come up each year.
So we don't actually, you know, go out for financing this.
Oh, we will, sure.
Only if we need to, like, but only if we, that,
Right, we don't go out and borrow.
you know, like, we don't do anticipation, yeah,
Spend.
okay,
So that's the bonding and the notes, that's separate.
yeah.
But we also want to try and take advantage of the infrastructure trust fund from the state for DEP.
Okay.
Half a market rate is what they go with, and it's going to be the projects that are typically a whole project, standalone, million and plus, itself, all by itself. So there's a couple of projects I've sort of flagged that we want to try and look to that, a project that's $5 million or $10 million with two combined projects altogether. So administering it with one consulting company all at one time, it all coordinated. So it's a lot of money, it's big, but we can combine two of those and go out to the trust for that.
What's the biggest upcoming project that,
The biggest one on our tables right here is, it's either going to be the steady RBC replacement, you see $2 million a year. We now think because of food chain, supply chain, that it's going to cost more because those RBC discs are plastic, and plastic with fuel has gone up. So I think that $2 million is going to be higher. But that's $2 million a year. We're going to start this year. We're going to have a bid go out soon. I'm looking at the draft now of the RFP. And the sludge dewatering belt filter presses, right, that's our biggest single nut right there.
4.6?
That includes, the design is the $360,000, and the $45 million will include the engineering and construction services.
Okay.
So, but that's replacement of the equipment, and the proposed in the report at that time was rotary presses was the technology.
So, what would you say is the most urgent work that needs to be done in the plant?
I'd say the
This-
presses, the
Yeah.
presses.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so we have slated coming up in May, several of our staff to go visit Hightstown because they have these rotary presses. So we want them to ask questions. How do you like it? How does it operate? Pros and cons.
So this project is expensive, but it's also a technological upgrade because we are using older technology. There are better, or at least newer ways. So you're continuing to research to make sure that this is going to be the best way forward for us to get a more up-to-date technology for handling the flow.
For dewatering, that's broad, but
I tend to stay broad. I'm not going to get too specific.
for dewatering, there's maybe half a dozen main technologies. So we could replace these belt filter presses. And are there workhorses out in the industry? Absolutely. They're all over the place. Stony Brook has them. I don't know. I don't think you and Lawrence do waters, but some don't. We don't want to haul water, so we're going to take the water out and put it back to the plant. There's pros and cons of everything. But we had a technical alternatives report completed, I believe it was in 2020, which you're welcome to have a copy of the report. I can get that, whatever. And it reviewed, rehabbing the existing completely replacing the existing. It considered rotary presses and screw presses.
You
It's
get into cost and efficiency, both?
all of it, including odor considerations, including chemical considerations. Some require more chemicals than others, including, for example, centrifugal dewatering. We didn't consider because the forces from that process, our structure is not designed for that. So structurally, the concrete and the walls and the flooring has to be strong enough for centrifugal, all those forces, and it wasn't designed. So we didn't consider that technology, for example. So, but there's all kinds of reading for the inquiring minds.
One of the things that's fascinating is how much of it is natural. The processes at our plant, like you were explaining to us on the tour about the stones and how they help to, help to decontaminate the water. So it's just,
Fascinating.
So one of the interesting questions a lot of people in a lot of places generally ask is, so what's your most important asset here, right? So they're looking around the plant, and they're looking at all this stuff, and my answers, right? Did I tell you my answer? Of course, it's the people.
the people.
Because those tanks and that water and nothing of that would do anything if we don't have the people. So, and I keep reminding them how important they are and how important their job is.
Well, we appreciate you as one of our people. We're grateful to have you, and thank you for your hard work and the hard work of your entire staff. We're very, very appreciative of the work that they're doing for the township.
I'm also very appreciative too, Carrie, and I know I probably should go out for another tour of the facility. This next. Before it gets warmer.
That's true. That's true. Don't wait. Don't sleep on that.
I waited for the pool.
This is a true story. My dad, one time, he was fascinated by water filtration plants and sewer plants. He took me on my day off to the sewer plant.
To this one?
I swear to God.
To this plant?
Not to this one, but it was fun. So.
You didn't go into that?
I always will remember that.
It's memorable, too. That's why it's memorable.
It's fascinating.
It's kind of life-changing to see.
Just about a year ago, last week, because it came up in my pictures in my memories. I have a picture of October memories. I think I have something.
Was this one of yours?
No, I didn't get that up close and personal.
It wasn't running that day. It was on Saturday. You were during the week. It was running.
That's true.
Yeah. So it's usually off on Saturday and Sunday. The pressing.
Tremendous process.
Thank you for all you do, though.
So we had one fortunate blender. I think it was in 2020. I think it was. And S4, we hired him. 4 days later, he quit. Everyone was upset. And it was because of some internal communication between one of the existing S4s and this new S4. This guy basically felt we're very threatened. And so he was telling them all these bad things, and the guy ran away. So he really did. It's serious. So some of my staff said, Carrie, you cannot just make this place sound great. You got to tell them about all the bad stuff. He said, okay. So I was talking to, in fact, Jennifer Crumley. She had submitted for assistant BA. I talked to her yesterday. It has really great potential qualifications for even planning for the future for other positions. And
I sensed that somebody that applied for one of our open positions, and I really didn't think it was, qualified enough, unfortunately, to interview, but I saw that her experience and her licenses are in sewer.
Sewer.
Anyway, right?
Right, yeah, Ocean County, Ocean Township.
I didn't know if she'd be interested or not, but it seemed to me that from her cover letter, that she was looking for
room for growth.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, if there's any place to grow, it's over there, because she'll be valued and, you know, allowed to
Mhm.
do the certifications and licenses
Okay.
and the education. So, I asked her to send the resume over to Carrie, and again, I'm glad she received it well, because,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, I didn't know if she would be interested in coming there instead of administration.
She was. So I was talking to even, she was, and it was good. We were going to set up for an interview. And she was interested still. Even though we can't, you know, the top dogs, we can't put her there right now. But maybe in the future with retirements and things. So there was some other blue collars we were interviewing. As they didn't even particularly have skills or this or that, you know, do you want to be an operator? And so, and by the time we finished, they're like, oh, it sounds so exciting, and you offer training, and then I said, and then the staff goes, Carrie, you sell this job too well. So I just personally have a passion. It's just, unfortunately, it's good or bad. It's just, I don't know.
I appreciate when we had our tour as well, your presentation, you know, again, because it's not something most people think about. And I'm fascinated as well, and, you know, as I mentioned, as you were in the room, but someone from WPC came to speak to my daughter's AP environmental class. And she was, you know, I don't know if she was fascinated enough to go into it right now, but she came home, she was excited, she was telling me about the process, and so I really appreciate the proactive nature you also take in protecting the environment. I remember you saying last year as well, like the regulations are going to become much stricter in what our output is. Is there any, like, do you want to point out anything that's getting us ready for that in the budget?
That would be great. I would love to do that right now. But let me just say, it was in middle school and high school that I fell in love with this environmental thing, you know, whatever. And my parents were patient and all, but it carried through life. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And by the way, Kathy, I would love to get some of the administrative staff in that area. I know Bianca's gone and some others, but I'd like to get like Cashel and Krista and some other people to come over. The call center we're arranging, and I just with Sam and some of her crew, we just set up a tour. So and I can't take all of them.
Did Robbinsville take us up on our?
Oh no, I never heard another thing. But let me RT tour. I'm gonna make a note on that to extend that. I'm sure they'll be very interested.
Yeah, listen, I mean, they, you know, it might help them understand our costs, the costs involved with the service we provide to them.
Mm-hmm. One thing we're facing, to step back to your question with labor and infrastructure, is this, like the presses are really struggling. And so, you know, we pour labor into it, but you know, we need these new dewatering facilities. So balancing labor needs, requirements, and overtime versus building it, and then they're like, oh, when we get this, it will be so much easier. So, and then do we need as much labor? And like balancing that whole picture in the interim is challenging. But to your question, there's two main things that are really facing us. And we're, as Kathy, I try and keep her and the mayor, et cetera, up to date on this. These regulations and these things that are facing us, two main things. One is the DLBC, which has a direct tie to the DEP for changing our limits. The one that they're mostly chasing right now is ammonia. That's one of our main criteria, which I believe is 30 or 32 in the winter and 28 in the summer. Don't quote me. Something like that. Milligrams per liter. That's what AH4N2, whatever it is, whatever the ammonia thing is. So what's happening is that it brings nitrates out to the creek and out to the Delaware. And the reactions that are happening in Delaware drive down oxygen in the river. So what they're saying, and these different studies have been going on for a few years. We've had to collect data for 2 years, all this extra data for them, spending, it was in our budget, like $40,000, all this stuff. Anyway, So even I had pointed, I think, to Kathy in the administration this week that they believe they're going to be able to say this fall about the ability of the towns or the towns that support these 12 utilities, 12 wastewater water plants, and 3 of the Philadelphia plants are included. Right, so we're one of the bigger ones. That they want to have them change their limits to be lower, and therefore it will increase oxygen, and this is one of the primary fishes is sturgeon. So I don't have a cool picture, there's no birds, I have it for you guys for meetings. They're actually billboards now saying the sturgeon across New Jersey. Down there, do you see it? It's like this weird looking dinosaur fish.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I love that. So the thing is, what are they going to put the ammonia down to? If it's that number now, which is secondary, it's a secondary limit. We're not a tertiary plant, which is, it looks like pool water when you clean it. You're like, oh, this is so clean. They're putting it down to limits. They're considering 10 milligrams per liter, 5, and 1.5.
Which will then allow more oxygen.
Right, less ammonia in the river, nitrates and nitrates, all that in the river, and therefore it will allow more oxygen. Right, so they're there, the sturgeon are there, but in its whole life cycle of the sturgeon, it doesn't support the very, I guess the babies or the breeding, like the very delicate parts of their life cycle. So it's going to bring up the dissolved oxygen. So I don't remember the numbers for what it would cost. Some studies were done for all the plants, preliminary, what would be the technology that you have to do. And so something was done for us as well, and it would be a side stream treatment. If they went down to 1.5 milligrams per liter, we need all the flow to go to the side stream, not part of it, and it would be $75 million was the estimate, just for that. Forget about the budget, just for that.
70 what?
$5 million.
To build this.
To build this side stream treatment.
You're saying side stream, but it's going to be our stream, our entire stream. We have to go through an additional treatment process.
Correct. Right.
So is there any, are we making baby steps towards that?
So I don't know when this started, 10 years ago, something to that effect. And you know, the modeling has been going on and calibrating it and using our data, and then they called in Delaware University to do is it attainable? Is it feasible for the towns to all pay for this? So Kathy even had data, submitted, about our ratepayers and their income levels and all this kind of stuff. So Philadelphia, I guess it's wastewater, they have some on staff, these geniuses with regard to biology and modeling and things like this. I mean, they can afford it, but they just lead the pack in debunking so much stuff in the modeling and these reports. So I don't even know how it can go forward the way that they have it. So that's why, that legal thing, it's there, and to hear them at some of these meetings, which we regularly go to, is quite fascinating. So I don't know where it's going to go, but they're going that way. So maybe we'll land on some compromise of 5 milligrams per liter. So what was that? 55 million is still a ton of money, right? And are we ready for that? Are we gathering money and saving it over here in this box? No, not right now. So should we be? That's a different issue. That's a different discussion. So the other issue, whole other thing, is PFAS. So if you've heard, for the United States, the EPA is crazy chasing like they've never seen before. It's a forever chemical. I keep the administration pretty well up to date, giving data sheets. I maybe I should have brought some for you. I wasn't sure if I could hand out lots of data and things.
Oh, is this the Teflon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Forever chemical that's known to be cancer-causing. It's everywhere. It's in our bodies. It's in our drinking water. It's in the groundwater. It's in clothing, babies' clothing to help, for fire retardant. It's in fire foam, so it's been banned from that. It's been banned from practically everything. But it's everywhere, so the question is, how do we get it out? So There's been meetings, and the EPA has, I think they've issued limits, but pretty much it's for drinking water. Obviously, that has the most immediate impact to our bodies. So, then we start chasing wastewater. We're not set up for any of that kind of thing. So initially, they found that it was about $1 million for each groundwater well that treated 1 million gallons of water. $1 million. We have what? Average right now, 9 MGD of flow coming to the plant. If we had to treat, that's 9 million. Is that per year? You know, and the infrastructure and all that type of thing. The only problem is in our sludge. And they're trying to figure out the technology still. How do we get rid of this stuff? Incineration is a good way to do it, and they're trying to develop other technologies. But even in wastewater, because the solids impact the lab analysis, they've only recently sort of agreed on what would be acceptable testing method. Water different, they've agreed on that, but wastewater is different. So this PFAS, what they've come to find out from a call last week with different directors from around the state and some lawyers and engineers, is that this DEP in New Jersey is chasing, first and foremost, is the industries and water suppliers. That's what they're chasing. They said we're going to leave the wastewater people alone for now. They would like us. They're saying probably a good idea to start sampling our effluent, but we're afraid once we do that, then it's public knowledge. So is it here? We don't know. So, but we should go out to our water suppliers, Trenton and Aqua, and see, do they have it? What's their data? That's what I would like to know. That's where we can see what they have available on the internet or on the DEP servers, or have they started testing. So, but we only have 5 industries in town, and we don't have any BASFs or things like that. You don't have that here. So, but
Not anymore.
no, so it would be nice if it was really low levels. So, and we were very happy to find out that last year, I think it was, we actually closed our sludge lagoon, which when you come over 195, it's on the right there. It's looks like a pond. We were actually, by permit, able to fully close it, so we don't have to monitor it, we don't have to do anything. Wonderful thing. It just helps clean up that whole process, liability, everything. So.
Are we planning anything for that location, or just let it?
No, we can't. Yeah, it's like natural. The tide comes in and out of it. It's just, it's sludge going into that lagoon was stopped in, I think, the 70s. So it's all returned to nature.
Nature, right.
So.
Okay, it's very informative. I was looking
Yeah.
it up, I was from the EPA website.
Yeah, and some of the parts of PFAS and different parameters, New Jersey is stricter than the EPA, some parts of it, so it's going to be super expensive.
Thank you, DuPont.
So a bunch in North Jersey, closer to New York City, band together and sued those types of companies. And out west they're doing the same thing. And what they're using the defense is that, this is the good of, we did this for the good of the people, right? Of course, that kind of, we did this for you.
Sure, we made those millions. Yeah.
That's right. So it's a legal thing, so but they can at least help with cleanup. I'm sorry if that was a long answer.
No,
that's-
it's very.
It's a big
I didn't
thing.
expect a short one, Lynn.
For Rachel.
It's a big amount of stuff coming. Those two main things.
That's a legitimate
Yeah.
concern. They're legitimate concerns and huge expenses. And it's, I'm glad that you're having the conversations with the administration, with us, so that we can have it on our radar and think about how we need to plan for this eventuality. It's, and there could be delays, but it seems like eventually we're going to have to,
Do something.
yeah. I'm good.
You're good?
Thank you,
Thank
Carrie.
you so much, Carrie, and
Thank you.
for all of your staff and all of the hard work that you do, and your expertise is so appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good evening.
Have a good night.
Take care, sir.
You guys good? Keep going?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Keep going.
All right.
Kathy, did your seat just get hotter?
It's the,
Kathy's not worried. She's not worried.
That's what we've been through the last 2 years since I got here, okay? Nothing's gonna flatten me out.
You face tougher crowds than this crowd.
That's for sure. So there's not huge changes in the areas that are covered by business administration, you don't see them there. And yet there are lots of changes. So I'll just give you a kind of a brief summary. So in budget and purchasing, I can happily tell you that one of the big changes is that John Calderon has CFO exam and now CFO. So
Wow, congratulations, John.
it's a really great accomplishment. It's a very difficult exam, and John did great. So we're really
That's
proud of
awesome.
that. And in purchasing, on the purchasing side, once we consolidated and this, we decided that, you know, it was creating some more work for a lot of different support areas. And purchasing is one of them. Finance was too, and so, but we talked about finance also. So, in purchasing, we did add another, staff member. And I think we were lucky enough first to get, Katie, who, came to us with some experience and was super, just kind of dove in. And how long was she with us? 2 months? 6 months? Was it 2? I thought maybe 6 months or so. And got, you know, moved away somewhere else and took a job, closer to her home. She had a family, and so, that was a big thing for her. But then I think we got double lucky and, we hired Michelle DeFrancis, who is basically Michelle Beto's assistant. So
Okay.
she's a licensed QPA as well, although she's not our QPA, Michelle is, Michelle Beto. So the only thing that is really of note is that now we have 2 Michelles in that office. It's tough trying to keep it in, so I think Danielle refers to them as Michelle Beto is the Michelle, and then Michelle 2.0 is Michelle. So if you hear her, we did call her Michelle with the 2 L's because Michelle spells differently, but we didn't know if that was offensive or not, so we went with the Michelle 2.0. That was, I think, Danielle's W. But anyway, we're doing a lot of work in purchasing to support all of the other departments and divisions, not just fire. That certainly added some, but they've also done tremendous projects going forward. I think when I came, Michelle Beto was a little shell-shocked because I said, I want to go electronic with everything. We need to be more efficient with our purchasing. Why are we still printing out 11,000 purchase orders every year and going through that process? Look, I love the process because it's, you know, based in state statute, and so I am all about that, being a certified individual, but it doesn't mean that it can't be efficient. So, and Michelle Beto frankly told me, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this if we don't get more staff, and she's right. She was, you know, churning out a lot of work, it still does. We do a lot of bids every year, and that department takes care of all of those. So, but once she got Katie on board and then subsequently got Michelle 2.0, because they both had experience, they've been able to really jump in and dive into those projects. So we're just going out our first time for electronic bidding, which is a tremendous process. I'm sure you understand the bidding process before that of printing up all of the bid specs and everything else, packets that would go out to any of the bidders. So they've done hundreds of them every year, copies and things that are picked up. Instead,
all done electronically, all the bidding's done electronically. All they do is go in and register, all of the documents are there. And so it sounds easier, but it's still a lot of work on this end. So, but Michelle and Michelle 2.0 and Linda in the department, and they even get some help from Jen, who does our accounts payable. They've just really done a tremendous job. So we're also, which was a big thing for me, and I pushed real hard, and some others pushed back sometimes, not John. John's been very supportive of everything. But, to go to electronic purchase orders as well, right? So this way, that's a longer process certainly, because we have a lot of vendors, but the exchange of the purchase order now will end up being, once they get it fully on board, will be done electronically. And it involves all of the departments. They've been great in having to train and learn new ways to do things. So these are all really exciting things. I don't want to spend too much time on just purchasing, but I thought it was really worth mentioning, all that they've done. They've really done a tremendous job.
Well, it's great, and it's an important part of what we do, period, right?
Are there any other hiring or vacancy needs in that department? I mean, we're pretty good.
Purchasing at this moment, right? No. Well, the mailroom, but we'll talk about that at a different time. So that, I don't think we have hiring needs there. Michelle Gato wanted to, but that falls under the purchasing.
Purchasing.
So, but that's more of a process thing, and I think we'll work through that. In business administration, of course, Mark left us. I'm still in mourning. Still text him, all the time. But, we brought in Steve Gould, obviously temporarily while he's on light duty, and really doing a great job. He's very detail oriented, which Mark had been and had done the job that way. So Steve's been really trying to help us hold the fort in Mark's absence. We advertised for the ABA job. We got a lot of resumes, a lot. But we're not interviewing all of them because a lot of them don't have really relevant experience. I think overall, we're going to interview, I want to say either 4 or 5 total. And we've already had a couple of interviews, and 2 or 3, and really great prospects, really great prospects. So we're going to have a really good choice, I think, for that position. Hopefully make a decision on that sometime next week, maybe at the earliest, and
Wow.
and then get somebody in within 3 or 4 weeks after that. So we're very excited about that. We knew Mark was hard to replace, but it's looking good.
Great.
In HR, that's another area where we added a staff member because again, that provides a lot of support to the departments and when we put on fire the 135 individuals. We've been doing some efficiency projects in human resources too, so those haven't fully come to fruition yet, but they've been working on them. And again, I come unstrung sometimes and say, give me a reason why we can't be more efficient. We don't have to keep doing things the same way. And so, but you get people that are it's their comfort level, and they're not slackers by any means. It's just that they have a comfort level with the way that they're doing it. They know it, and so they're making some progress now. So that HR, my goal is to have HR talk more with payroll. Because they're clearly related. Not everything HR is payroll, but, everything payroll is HR, basically. And so they really need to talk more, and I don't even mean face-to-face, I'm talking about through their systems and through their data sharing and all of that. So that's moving along too, that's great, and they really had a great hire as well. So, my name just escaped me, but Ariana. She's terrific, and she's been doing a good job there, as well as the whole department. They do a good job as well. Information technology, we had a retirement, so Schaefer, he retired, and so in-house, we replaced Doug with Rob,
who, again, is really pulling together the department, doing a good job. We have hired somebody to backfill for Rob's spot as well, somebody that has some decent experience. Just started, about a month ago? Yes. And so, again, we're looking good there, but we also had,
Keith.
Kevin,
Kevin.
who just left.
I was too that.
Did you actually say Keith?
I did. Right to the end. Poor kid. It was my fault, though. I wasn't too.
He's left already, that his last day was last week or week before. I lose track of time, so.
He said goodbye to us at our last,
Meeting at the senior center.
at the senior center.
Yep. And we're just finishing up interviews to replace him as well, and I think they have a couple of good prospects there too. So hopefully, we'll all be fully staffed with no vacancies and, be able to continue to move forward with all the projects that we're doing.
Kathy, right now they have 2 vacancies, the head, right, the supervisory position.
No, they promoted from within.
Oh, we did,
We
okay,
promoted Rob,
okay,
and then we backfilled Rob's position.
okay.
So, and now.
That's just the one.
we have a new
All right,
one,
okay.
We just have the one vacancy, which, hopefully in a month or so, we'll have that filled. So.
Good.
And of course, in the mayor's office, we just lost Kate, and, that's a big loss too. But they've already found a replacement. Who's I was going to forget her name? Sarah Pettit. And, she's gonna be starting in about 2 weeks, same time about as our CFO is coming in, so.
Good.
So I'm very excited about, the new staff that we're getting. It's hard to lose some of the old staff, but that's all.
Well, you started in a lot of ways behind the 8 ball, with staffing, when you came in, and it was just going to take a while. And you're getting there. With staff, you've been able to replace good people with good people, and thank God for that.
Yes.
So, that's great.
We're hoping to keep them, and we're trying to do things. We do a lot of things that we talked about already with Carrie and some of the other departments about really supporting student education, and they have licenses, and we pay for and support the classes and the CEUs that they have to get. But we also will allow somebody who has an interest in a particular area to take the courses for their certification. I mean, they may never get certified, but they may, if they have an interest, it can help them doing the position that they're doing. So, we hope that helps to keep, some people. Certainly the salaries and money don't hurt at all, but, we've also made a lot of progress with the contracts, and we're almost there with all of them. We still have 2 that are outstanding. We still have to vote, but we're very far along in the negotiation process. So we're hoping to wrap up the contracts too, and that's been sort of settling for people as well, because, we went through 2020, where most of the unions, almost all but one, decided to take a 0 raise in 2020 because we didn't have the unknown with the pandemic. So they were really looking for what are we doing in 21, 22, and going forward. So I think we've got really good contracts in place for the ones that have agreed, and we're waiting for the ones that still have yet to vote. So, but they're good contracts. They're good for both of us.
So do you get a break in negotiating contracts after you get those last 2, or
Sort of.
they're just more on the horizon?
Sort of. We did 4-year contracts for all of them, including the police, so I was happy about that. And fire was the one that we negotiated when I was first here. And then those are the shortest. That's a 2-year contract, because it was the first that we had put all of those districts together. And so, that was very challenging to do, so we did 2-year contract. But
my thought process, and I haven't discussed this with any of them at this point, so I'd like it to stay in here, but my thought process is kind of, that's okay. It's not bad, it's not terrible, but I just don't want it, getting it, but is to, look at, another at least 2 years, maybe just extend it a couple of years, what we're doing currently. Because we still haven't really analyzed everything that we're doing. So we'll see how that goes though. They may be, want a full, another full 4-year contract. And whatever happens, we'll negotiate.
This is the fire, you're saying? Yeah.
Well, the consolidation, we made it official on January 1st of 2021.
Yeah.
So, that was the day that the public paid attention to, and it was a big milestone, but the work of consolidating has continued in large part fallen on you and your team. We know you've been
Well, there's a lot
doing a lot.
of credit for that, me the least, because, although I was there, and certainly part of it, but Mark, and even other departments, the clerk's office, there was a lot of resolutions, a lot of things that had to be done, a lot of technical stuff that had to happen in front of you all, law department, obviously, personnel, so a lot of finance, you name it. It's, a lot of them have done it. Even, public works, as we saw, how we figure out how do we take care of all these new properties as well, so. So it's been great effort. Consolidation, in my view, couldn't have gone better, really. For the most part, went seamless. It had its hiccups, but it was really done well.
Yeah, we made history.
How about the budgets? Any
How about it?
questions on them?
I'm going to see, I think we need to have on. I gotta find it again. I can't find it now. The legal, it was like possible discussion, there was a little note.
On which budget?
That's what I'm trying to find here. Oh, under,
Mayor's office?
no, business
legal advertising.
administration, page 2. Yeah, 027. Because, obviously these are the results of the last 2 years, probably cases that were being settled from prior years, but, because it just mentioned actually, maybe discuss whether we do that for 2022.
So we don't have too many we have some, we don't have too many from prior years. These are really from, the last couple of years anyway. And some we currently have going on. And I think we've had, a good number through fire. But again, we have brand new department together, brand new contract. So we're all kind of feeling our way through that. I don't see anything major on the horizon, but like we just had a hearing yesterday, for an arbitration that we're doing on a grievance, with the fire. So, we end up needing to pay, and we were doing it in-house legal, but this is in case we ever have to go out. We have to pay for the mediator as well, or the arbitrator, but we pay for half of it. So we don't expect too many of them, but this is one of those things where you kind of gotta just have it ready there. Yeah.
No increase then?
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Under the, IT, I guess, personal expenses and training, is that because we're gonna have someone new coming on board and we wanna just allocate some funding for that?
Absolutely. And again, when we talk about the opportunity
Bless you.
for, education and certification, there's a lot in IT that they can go for. I don't know how much in the past the department has taken advantage.
Was that a different line, was that a different line item? Cause it was 0.
It was 0, yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how much in the past they've taken advantage of, getting education
Okay.
and or certification, so as we're.
Apparently 0.
But no, it could have been another,
Remember, yes.
it could have been somewhere else.
IT
Yeah,
was
you're right.
under 20-170,
Yes.
so this is a newer line, 20-12, which is more in line with the FCLA codes at the LGS.
So there may have been some money dedicated to that line in the past.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
Remember, IT used to be under community and economic development and obviously, so it was under a whole different account structure. That's why it's missing those first years.
That's fine. I just always, if I see a zero, then I could assume it's probably that, but when I ask the question.
But certainly had nothing in last year, so.
Oh, nothing was
I
it?
don't think they were taking advantage of
Okay.
opportunities for that.
I did see many of the budgets, costs have gone down to the trainings because they're online. I don't know if you noticed some of the notes in there.
Yeah, I did.
A lot of decreases because of
There's
the,
a lot less
which is
cost.
great, yeah.
Yeah. No travel costs, you
Yeah.
don't have the person out all day, or, you know.
Yeah, that may, who knows, that might remain that way.
I think so too.
I mean,
Well,
We have team meetings, and we'll be sitting in the same building, but we just find it easy to have our screens in front of us, and Becomes habit forming.
No
Mhm.
travel or anything like that either.
Just to answer your question, in economic development, for previous years, it was 4,000.
okay. So we're doubling it, that's good. All right. All right. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
thank you. Do it on me.
This isn't a
No.
budget session per se, Kathy, but I might have talked about this, because I saw it in a couple different budgets. That is my understanding that, like, we have multiple Zoom accounts, and then I was just, like, you know, there's the council one, and then I think there's one under maybe your department. Why we don't have just one universal Zoom for the township with different permissions to do certain things.
I don't know.
So just, I mean, as a teacher, that's, you know, we have the South Brunswick District Zoom account that somebody at the board office controls who can do what with.
Right.
Well, that might be it, might be
Yeah.
the control, because for meetings that we do through administration, then, you know, Bianca is the one that kind of controls and does that. Ones we do for planning board is done, and we actually have a consultant that comes in and does that, because there's different things.
But that
they have
could
to
be under
share.
one umbrella, Zoom, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too, but I'm not sure why it got structured that way,
Yeah.
other than we probably put it together very quickly.
I say maybe moving forward, if we're gonna keep that, it might be more cost efficient to,
Okay.
Well,
because like, as a teacher, like, I can hold a webinar, or I can have, I have, you know, I can have certain, you know, controls. It also controls, if you have certain meetings, let's say that you only want certain people to be able to get into, maybe from the township, it has to be a township email as they're signing in. So there's a lot of features that,
All right, we'll look into it.
yeah, just,
It probably doesn't matter too much because of the fact that I would assume you utilize COVID dollars or recovery dollars to offset those.
We did.
yeah. I'm not really talking about the meetings as much as like, I know when Bianca, you know, was away the one time and we had trouble, whereas, you know, if we each had our own account, like.
You were
I
saying it's
personally-
more cost efficient if you have, come under one
You
umbrella.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
if you think
Maybe
about
it
it,
is.
a school district, we're all running a class at the same time. In Hamilton, it would be 17 elementaries, I'm like, I have 23 schools are using one, one platform, yeah.
I know with planning, they needed the consultant because of the complexities of the public meeting and making sure that,
Documents and supporting things that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I know for that,
Yeah.
like, so planning, zoning, they have some special circumstances, but the rest of it makes sense. What you're saying.
I didn't mean to forget Hampstead, but that falls under.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at that.
Again.
Tremendous.
Tremendous job.
Yep.
With very little staff over there and the amount of calls and issues that they handle.
Mhm.
And they just take a lot of care in how they do it. And there's communication issues between, you know,
the mothership here and them out there, then, you know, we make that right away, so, and they bring it to our attention, and really, Terry does a great job.
Yeah.
And her staff.
I hear great feedback in the community, definitely.
I'm hearing more and more positive feedback about people's interactions with Hampstead and, you know, getting the answers that they need. I think there's,
Training lately too, and
Yeah.
there's more to do because we're going over to, I forgot to say this too, but a new system, going away from
Good.
Q Alert, going to See Quick Fix. And that's gonna have a better presence on our website as well. And we're doing a completely new website. So if Bianca didn't have enough to do, she is really leading all of this.
We have a new website,
A
right?
new website and the switch to See Quick Fix, which we've all decided we hate the name, so we have to come up with some kind of better name for that. Q Alert is kind of nice, you know?
Yeah.
It's easy, rolls right off the tongue, but See Quick Fix is more of a tongue twister.
Mhm.
You know, like,
see it, click, fix it, I get it.
it's
But-
really great, and it'll be great for the residents. You can, you know, put it right on your phone, you're out in the park, you see a bench that's broken, and you can even upload a picture to it. It GPSs it wherever you're at, so that there's never a question of what's the address and where it is, you know, just, that's a simple example, but, you know, it can be really responsive, so, and they're loving it, out at Hampstead and Bianca too, so.
Great.
Nice.
Really, really nice.
I know.
Offers so much.
Yeah.
When is that, when do we think
When
we're
is
gonna
it?
launch that?
What was it, Eileen?
I think she's shooting for the.
Oh, you've seen,
Yeah, we've been, you know, working with.
Beta.
And doing a little bit of training, it's
And we
so,
saw just like a template
so
of one
nice.
department of, you know, whatever, it wasn't even fully finished, but just the look of it, so it's so much
So
better,
much
so
easier.
much updated.
I'm looking forward to, just from our little corner of things, you know, accessibility for the public to, our archives, you know, just a little easier navigability, you know,
easier. We call it like, you know, for the council meetings,
yeah.
so much easier to navigate and
So that alone will be great,
Yeah, hopefully,
yeah.
Okay,
Good.
sounds great.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you for everything.
we appreciate you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, Johnny, congrats.
Now we gotta jump to,
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Listed mayor and
oh, we did
business.
that? We did that?
Jeff's not coming.
What about what about the Capitol here? That's a beautiful thing. They were doing the COVID memorial.
Oh,
Very nice, sorry.
No, I like that.
Very nice. I'm gonna get yelled at. She's gonna get mad. No, but I want to thank you.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And, do we need
What's
to
that?
make a motion or no?
No, it's an informal workshop. Are we done?
We are
Are
adjourned.
we adjourned?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.